everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Mango Publishing Heart Wisdom panel. Today, we are so lucky to have Telaina Eriksen and Jodie Anders with us. We are, it's funny. I was thinking the title of this is today is Pride and Joy. And so I'm really hoping we're going to find some and plenty of joy to share, as well as I know we're going to be looking at some of the hard places, some of the hard things going on for our youth. But just from talking to you guys just now, Jodie's got some happy things to share for sure. So without further ado, let's talk about today how we can support our beautiful youth. And first, I'm going to have you two just introduce yourselves. Telaina is the author of Unconditional. And Telaina, you want to tell us what's top of mind? Yeah.
So I think I've done this panel a couple of times, and I grew up in rural Michigan. My sister, Tara, identified as lesbian, and it was kind of neat growing up with her because she was one of my older sisters, and you know how you just look up to your older siblings. And so I just thought it was really cool. And I was like, when I went out in the world, I was like, oh, this is not cool. This is really scary for her sometimes. This was like, the 70s and 80s, right? So, but anyways, and then when I got married and had my family, my oldest daughter also identifies as queer. And that's kind of how Unconditional came to be. I had written a couple of things about marriage equality online, and someone from Mango approached me and said, we think this would make a great book talking about helping parents, parent LGBTQI youth. And so that's how I came to be here. So,
and thank goodness you are, right? We need you in the world doing the work you're doing. So great. I love it. And Jodie is the co-author of Queer Cheer. Hello, Jodie. I love that. I love you have the graphic behind you.
I love putting the cover is just so much fun. Like you just have to put it everywhere.
Oh, and before you go, I just want to also say, can you also hold up the book? I don't know if it'll work, but
I can. Yes.
The book is just so full of joy. The colors and.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah, I know it's kind of tricky. All right. Well, maybe not. We get the little sense of the picture.
Like the Instagrammer tricks are not working for me. But it's the same cover, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right here.
So tell us about you and your work.
Oh my gosh. I've had quite the journey in my life. I grew up as both a Jew and bisexual who just had lots of fun in a mostly conservative suburb, and just knew I was very different than everybody else. And pretty much, I think I had like maybe two other people in my school that I knew who were queer, and I just really had no idea what to do with that, how to be confident, how to be, with a community or anything like that. And as I kind of went through life, I ended up working with a nonprofit for youth, and I ended up traveling the world, and I just started really learning how beautiful being different is, how unique and special everybody is. And I've worked now for a little over 20 years with youth mentorship and teaching leadership and confidence. And I've been, a writer mostly in fantasy world that whole time. But when Eric came to me and asked about, co-authoring with him, because he's so amazing at the activism and the community, we just loved the idea of working together to create a book that basically combated all the negativity out of there and put some positivity and, just some steps for queer teens to be able to grab some affirmations and some confidence and some skills that maybe basically a book I would have loved when I was a teen.
Right. Right. And I love that you actually, in your book, you do share a lot of the voices. And I think you're going to, throughout the panel, be sharing maybe some of those with us. But I really loved that part, actually hearing the voices of the teens.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for us, it's very different. You can be on many different walks of life, on different identities, different faiths, different labels, and that makes you a very different person. So one person who's bisexual might see the world differently than the other person who's a bisexual, or, whatever it is, right? So we wanted to try to find as many teens as we could from as many types of walks of life. And, also different states, right? It's different being maybe in Texas versus California, or, things like that, to try to get quotes that other teens would then relate to, so that they could see themselves in someone else and not feel alone.
Yeah. Oh, love that. I love that. It just occurred to me, that so Telaina, your book, I think you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I love how your book is speaking directly to parents, and really giving parents, just like I love all of the teen voices in Jodie's. I told you I love your do's and don'ts lists, because I feel like they're just easy to get, succinct, and it, for me, I just love that feeling in both of your books, really, of kind of, you're not alone. There's support here for you. And yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I like most in my book too is we do have voices of mostly, I think the youngest person's about 18, but kind of reflecting on what their parents did well and what their parents maybe could have used some, a little bit of help on. And also we have like, some brothers and sisters of queer people. We have, some parents of non-binary children and something like that. So again, I was very aware, just like Jodie was saying, that me and my daughter have, and my sister, we have a singular experience, right? Like we have this just one experience amongst all these. So I wanted to bring in other people. And I kind of did choose people over 18 for a reason. Not only because it's kind of hard as someone to say, hey, do you want to be quoted forever when you're like 14 or whatever, which is, I think that's wonderful. But I also think that you get some idea of that your parents are people as you kind of get older into the upper teens and the 20s. And I'm not saying that teenagers don't normally think that, but kind of sometimes it's like, oh, this was mean or this was something. And then when you're 22, you're like, oh, I kind of, understand that maybe there was an adult reason behind that involved like safety or something else. So I did kind of choose those, or ask those people on purpose as adults, just so that we did have that reflective quality to reflecting on their experience.
I love that. Well, we can see that Mango publisher Brenda Knight has joined us. Hi, Brenda.
Hello, happy to see everybody.
We were just talking about Telaina and Jodie were sharing a little about their books, and I was just saying that personally, one of my favorite things about these books is that they really have that feeling of you're not alone. Like, so whether it's a parent or whether it's a teen themselves, a young person, both of those books really serve, I think, in so many ways to have that compassionate voice of, we're here with you, we've got you. And I was, that's where we were starting, is just that joyful place.
Yes. And if I can add to that joy, one of my favorite aspects is that it's a Florida-based publisher publishing these books, like right in the loud and proud in the land of don't say gay, but we choose to say gay whenever we want, all the time, because it's a beautiful word.
I love that. I love that. And Brenda, the other thing that you missed, and I want to bring us back to this, because we will definitely get to more of the great big joy of all of this, because we are calling this Pride and Joy. However, both Telaina and Jodie, when I asked them, where should we focus today, kind of were coming from a similar place of, these are hard times, right? And so if we can, let's start. Telaina, why don't you start instead of me putting words in your mouth? Tell me what you told me when I said, what do you want to focus on today?
Well, I said that it was kind of deja vu, from last year, from the panel, that We have a lot of negativity out there that are actually trying to, take rights away from people. And a lot of these bills are in different states are being vetoed, and they are being fought, and they are being defeated in various ways. But again, it's just not the message that you want your children and the young people of our country who are different to hear or to see in the news or to hear people talk about. It's just not good. And I think that we're just kind of in trying times. We have been for a while. I think a lot of this, as I probably said before, is backlash to some of the gains that have been made in terms of freedom and equality for LGBTQI people. And that's how, unfortunately, progress works, is the pendulum swings and then it swings back, and it is natural, but it's very, very scary, and it is very frustrating. But we wanted to talk a little bit today just about mental health and way to help people in their communities find resources to make those, those areas, their homes, their communities, and like that, safe, affirming, and joyful places.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Jodie, did you want to jump in and say a little more on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really hard. And it was a big catalyst for us, when we were sitting down to write, was looking at, everything that's happening out there and how.
Oh, Jodie's frozen for me. Is she frozen?
Yeah, she froze for me too.
She'll fall out soon. But I wanted to say that, was that her thawing out? I think I saw.
Are you back, Jodie?
Yeah. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of froze for a second, so I don't know.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's so weird. It didn't seem, but that's okay. Anyway.
You were saying when you were sitting down to write the book with Eric that you were taking a look at all these issues.
Yeah. So basically, for us,
Oh.
While that's happening, I wanted to say that actually Queer Cheer is a direct response to Don't Say Gay, because Eric called, we had an appointment to market his other Mango LGBTQ plus books. I call him the gay dad because he's written some incredible books as resources for people that are making the journey to parenting. And so we were talking about that, and Ron DeSantis had just declared the whole Don't Say Gay, and I was really upset about that, millions and millions and millions of right-minded people. And so I took the opportunity to just sort of process that with Eric, because I knew he would know even more than I did. And I said, I'm worried about the questioning and queer teens out there. How they need to know that it's okay to be them and it's okay to be true to themselves. I said, I wish we could do a book of affirmations. And then he said, I mean, rainbow affirmations? And I said, yes. And then that evolved into the project that is much fuller and more robust, and is entitled Queer Cheer, and has Jodie's great writing and her incredible design, and that cover is Jodie's design. But I love how the intention, the little seed of the idea to respond positively to Don't Say Gay resulted in this book. I mean, that as a publisher, and as an acquiring editor and somebody who wants, it to be a better world, it just doesn't get any better than that. It's a dream come true for me. Telaina's book is very, very important to me. It was our first LGBTQ plus book that we ever did. So I feel like we have the alpha and the omega here. And I am filled with I'm very proud. I'm feeling filled with pride. But I mean, this is just because that's the kind of work we want to do at Mango. And that's the reason I get up in the morning, is to do this, to help people, to reassure people, to encourage people. And like, I'm just so glad that we're here today talking about these important books and hoping that like more and more people find out about them so they can help more people.
Oh, yeah, I love that. And look, Jodie's back. Hi, Jodie.
Right here. I don't know what I'm so sorry about that. That's very strange. I don't normally have those issues, but that's okay. So yeah, I think Brenda totally covered what I pretty much was about to say. So that was perfect. Great pitch hitting.
Channeling you.
Well, let's dig a little bit deeper then into, I think, which is what Telaina was saying about making school and home safe and supportive. So whichever you wants to jump in there, maybe Jodie, since we didn't get a chance to hear more from you, would you want to jump in and say something about that?
Yeah. Although, I mean, I would actually say like the first thing that I kind of start with for, you know, teens is really trying to get that feeling of their own self-acceptance down, you know, because even if you have like an environment of school acceptance, you can have a school that is actually a very affirming, great school, but if the teen hasn't had someone kind of maybe walk them through some self-acceptance, or you know they haven't done that work themselves, like they're still gonna, even one person can come and tear them down, you know. It's so easy to really do that. So I think it kind of starts there, which is why I really love the affirmations aspect so much. It's just so easy to let someone else's words get in your head. So I mean, for me, I really like to tell a teen, like, try as best as you can outside of like all the noise and all, you know, everybody else to think, you know, think about who you are, you know, really get to know yourself. Ignore what like other people are saying, ignore trends, ignore, you know, that, and like really spend some time with yourself, stepping out of any of the expectations or the judgments. And like what you're really trying to do is like figure out like what is your identity, what is your morals, what are your beliefs, what do you like, what do you dream, you know. And then if it's not a, you know, super easy process, but if you can really get solid on that, then you can use things like your school's affirming environment, your own like support groups, or talking to friends, or things that can be affirmations to that and help you in those environments, basically.
Jodie, I love that you took us back that extra important step. And I do remember when I was reading that part of your book, and I was thinking, this is a challenge for all of us at any age, right? I mean, yeah, but I especially loved, and maybe you want to share, I don't know if it's easy for you to share a snippet from that section, any of your affirmations if you want.
Yeah. Let me see. I actually, you know what? I have a really good quote from, this actually probably fits fairly well. One of our teens, Jackson. Jackson is 18 and is a trans and non-binary teen. He identifies as both. And he said, I'm autistic, so there's a lot of times where certain things are expected of me, but it's either really difficult for me to do them, or I don't know what to do. Sometimes I have to accept that other people might be uncomfortable with how I'm acting, even if I'm acting in a way that's normal for me. I have to just accept that I need to stop trying to appear a different way to them when it can be fruitless and just exhausting.
Wow. That's an 18-year-old voice.
Yes. Ooh. So an affirmation that might kind of go with that is something like, I am allowed to do what is best for me, even if it upsets other people.
I know, right? Wow. I mean, just that gave us like such a sense of the power of this book, right? Like, that's amazing. Yeah. Telaina, did you want to jump in?
I just wanted to reiterate that I just love what Jodie said about self-acceptance, because, you think about it as our bodies and ourselves, that's our first home, right? Literally that's our first home. And then there's our, actual home, that we live in with whatever family. But no, that was absolutely wonderful. And yeah, I think that, definitely it's so important for all of us to do that work. Like you said, Sherry, it's like, we're all still working on it, right? What does someone expect me to do? Let me go and do that, right now. But I think too that can be a partnership, right? Like if you have your parents working with you and you've got your school working with you, that journey as a person is going to be a little bit easier than someone who's having to try to take all that on their own, and they don't have those supportive partners, right? Like, of course, we all have to do that work and we're still doing it. But I think if we can have the parents and the caregivers and the schools and the community maybe putting their arm around our kids and saying, let me help you on your journey of self-exploration and self-acceptance, rather than what are you doing and putting up all of these barriers. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to add on to what Jodie said.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. How about, was there anything else about this topic of, I said making school and home, but also as someone who is a community member who, I'm not really connected at this time anymore to a school. Like, what are some other things that we could do
to make your school inclusive?
Yeah, well, to make the community inclusive, maybe broadening it out a little.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if Jodie and I were talking previously, about the, a lot of times people that are doing some of these weird bans and these book bans at schools and public libraries are they're either a small minority or they are very vocal, like small minority. So if community members don't mind showing up at school board meetings, because technically if you live in an area, you have every right to be at that school board meeting because your taxes are helping to pay for that community school in the public school sense. So showing up at public library meetings, taking part in any sort of like local type of voting. Just voting is so important in general, but especially at those local levels, you can get, because no one really wants, at least where I am, no one really wants to run for school board. Like, it doesn't pay anything. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you get really devoted people who are running for school board, but sometimes you get power hungry people who are running for school board too. So you really, anything like that in terms of voting, showing up to meetings, if you have like 2 hours a week and can do something, or, and again, I hate to make it about money, but also local donations where where that money is going and it's helping your local teens or your local community or your local library. That would be very lovely too. I think there's lots of ways to get involved. And I have found during these very difficult times that getting involved locally and getting involved within my community and my state is so much more easier than worrying about the Senate election in Georgia, right? I don't live in Georgia. It's very important to Georgia. Nothing, go Georgia. We love Georgia. But like here in Michigan, you know what I'm saying? Here in Michigan, there is only so much I can do to affect that outcome, right? There's just only so much I can do. So I found for me personally, acting locally in a way that is sustainable, for me has been very helpful to not feel despair sometimes.
Yeah, thank you, Telaina. And great reminder. I think that a lot of us don't know or have forgotten, that we can attend the school board meetings, for instance, or, that other community meetings may be open when we think that they're closed organizations.
And you can run for school board. You do not need a kid in the school. If you just are like a nice retired person who likes education, you can run for school board. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason that you can't do that. So
you don't even have to be in that community. That's actually what's happening. Like, on the flip side, a lot of non-parent people who are not even from that community are going to, force their agenda on that community, essentially.
That just happened to us in a city called well, not just, a couple years ago. I think it's still happening to some degree in a city called Grand Ledge in Michigan, where there was some stuff happening, and a lot of people who were not even close to Grand Ledge, they were coming from other parts of the state, came because they heard about it via some news source. So
Yeah. Jodie, you alluded before we started to talking about book banning and ways to get involved. And I think you've got a really joyful story to share with us around that, don't you?
Yeah. So obviously we came at it a lot from, teens who are probably not going to be the age to vote for things. And so there's really, kind of a few different angles that teens can, come at things where they can either support the voting process, help get people registered to vote, or pass out flyers or write letters or things like that. Or they can come at it from, the aspect of supporting within their school boards and maybe helping people to understand like their personal stories and things like that. And the story that you're actually talking about is two teens that we had interviewed, Luke and Jill, who they actually in their school started an organization. It sort of snowballed into this whole organization, but essentially they had some people coming in and trying to ban some books from their library. So they basically gathered some friends from the Racial Equity Alliance Club that they have and went to the next school board meeting to speak out. And essentially, very intelligent kids, they were able to influence everything and won against those book bans that were happening. And then not long after that, they actually had started their own, basically like club. They call it Students Protecting Education. And they had some of the same people who were coming to try to get those book bans done. They came back and tried to run for the school board and tried to do more damage to them. And they just kept rallying efforts together, where basically they then supported 3 candidates to be on the school board against these people. And all 3 of their candidates won.
What?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And they've kept going. They've actually been promoting their organization, and I believe they have members and the organization active in 22 states now.
Wow.
And yeah, these are 2 16-year-old kids who started this. And incredibly intelligent, amazing. I'm blown away by the work that they've done. And we've had a few of those stories. There's a few of our teens who shared different stories of another one, I think it was Jackson, who had worked together with a couple friends and their parents and got a gender neutral bathroom installed in their school. And just they're doing the work together, and it's amazing.
Oh, Jodie, I love these kinds of stories, right? Because I think it speaks to obviously what we're talking about, how to act locally, but it's like that parents are teaming up with their teens, or that the teens are just taking this on by themselves. It just gives me such hope for, like you keep saying, like how I'm thinking back to my teen years, and it's like I did not have that kind of like go get 'emness like that they're showing.
No, yeah. Actually, I have another. If you're up for another quote,
yeah.
I have one from Alia, 17. And Alia says, my friend and I started a GSA club because we were having a lot of bad hallway experiences. I wrote an essay about why we needed it and brought it to the principal, and we were able to create our GSA club because of that. Having a space to openly talk about our experiences in a safe and judgment-free zone was really helpful.
Yay.
So yeah, I mean, and we have, I think there's actually 2 pages worth of quotes where they all did different things, you know, to help promote fighting back, or even just promoting, you know, good vibes, happiness, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that this conversation is also dovetailing into something else we wanted to make sure that we talked about, which was, you know, the mental health and the positivity and the emotional health. And I feel like part of what you're talking about is this does feed into that. But Telaina, I want to go back to you because I know that was also something that we were talking about. And as far as parenting, you know, I don't know if you have any of those awesome do's and don'ts lists, or you have one in your head.
Yeah, I think I had marked, you know, this one was about, it's a do's and don'ts list from my book. And this one was about, you know, when your child is questioning their gender, perhaps their sexual identity, like, am I queer? Like, what's going on? I'm having these thoughts and feelings. And it's sometimes difficult for parents to know what to say to relatives, right, when that's going on. And so I kind of made a do's and don'ts just because I know people are busy, and, you know, these are kind of reductive. There's more in the chapter about it, but I think you'll get the point. Okay. The do's and don'ts: do expect the best and prepare for the worst, especially if your child is the first out queer person in your family. Expect that everyone will be loving and accepting, but prepare yourself just in case they are not. Another do give people space and time. Just as you may have needed some time to process when your child came out to you, so might your extended family. If someone acts poorly at first or says something a little stupid, circle back around to them in a bit to see if they are in the same place. They may be sorry and not know what to do because they know they've behaved badly. We are not perfect beings. Do offer resources like we've been talking about with all these great books. I keep several books I like to give people who ask, or to people who might need them. If you can afford to do this, I think it's great. It's a great way of offering a lot of information without a lot of pressure. And then I'll end on a don't. Don't let Uncle Ralph make homophobic jokes or engage in bullying behavior at family gatherings. Confront that behavior, even if the confrontation is awkward and painful. If Uncle Ralph continues his behavior after your confrontation, remove your child from that situation. So those are just some guidelines, again, to try to make those spaces a little bit more comfortable for your questioning child, or for your trans child, your non-binary child, your gay child. Just a way to make those spaces a little bit more comfortable, and so that you have a plan, right? We have a plan going forward. This is what's going to happen in big family spaces or in community spaces.
And Telaina, I really appreciate the compassion that you offer in the writing. I particularly remembered part of where you went deeper into that was, you know, that it's hard, right? It's hard if you're choosing between your mom and,
Yes.
and your child. But I really love, there was a point where you really you did say, you know, if you have to stay home from Thanksgiving to support your child,
Yes.
do that. Don't leave your child at home alone. Things like that, I think people, like, it's presented in such a compassionate way.
Yes.
That I think people can really take that and use that.
A lot of times, unfortunately, our homophobic grandparents and so forth have a lot of wonderful qualities, right? Again, we don't want to make anyone a villain or reduce someone's humanity. We're all, in my opinion, children of God. Some of the people are not on the correct path, but we are all children of God. And we don't want to take away someone's humanity, but that doesn't mean that our children should be exposed to that, right? We can love our grandparents and we can accept that they are to some extent a product of their time and circumstances, but they need to do better, right? We all as human beings need to do better. And your child cannot be exposed to those things, especially in their own family. So you have to have that love in your heart and realize that someone is probably doing the best they can, but you also have to, there's a great, I think it's Elizabeth Lesser says, do no evil, but take no crap, basically, except she uses the other words. And that's how I feel about this, is that we can love them and appreciate everything that they have done for us and understand that they need to do better and to grow and change as a human being until we can interact with them in that way. So,
Yeah.
I think something that I really like to kind of make sure that, you know, any teen that I talk to knows, like, is really along the same lines. You know, most of those comments, they really come from a place of fear or judgment or ignorance. They don't really understand or know a person, and it's not about that person. It's about them. Like, it's not about, you know, the teen. It's about the person, right? And so I think, you know, whatever is happening, if the response to those words, the response to that hate is absolutely valid feeling, but to also try to remember that whatever someone else is saying or doing, that's their reality, you know, that they're acting from that place of fear or judgment or ignorant, and that's about them, and it's not about you. And to try not to let your mind lie to you about your own value or worth because of someone else's ignorance or hate or fear.
100%, Jodie. I could not agree more. Alok Menon, he's a great follow on social media if anyone doesn't follow him. But they say something like, you know, how much hatred a person has to have within themselves, self-hatred, to act in a way someone's not conforming to a certain gender or to a certain expectation. Like, how much their mind must be a miserable place to be, right? And that hating that person back is not the response. And hating yourself isn't the response. It's only love, only self-love and love to other people. That doesn't mean we don't have boundaries, but self-love and then love to other people.
Brenda, I'm wondering if you want to go ahead, Jodie.
Sorry, I have a quote.
Okay. Oh yeah, bring it in.
Liz 17 says, sometimes when people say mean or negative things to me, I have to remind myself that everyone is allowed their own opinion. Many people will choose to be hurtful with their opinions, and that's obviously not okay for them to do. But I try to remember that what they think doesn't change who I am and what I believe in.
Woo!
Yes. Absolutely.
I love them. They're so smart.
And Jodie, like, right, I can't even believe that these are teenagers,
right,
saying these things. I mean, that would be amazing and beautiful if it was coming from, you know, someone in their later years. We'd be like, good for them, you know, but wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the wisdom of the teens and tweens like really comes shining off the page in Jodie and Eric's book. And I'm thinking, like, we still might need another book, Rainbow Affirmations. I can't help but, I'm an acquiring editor. I can't help myself.
I mean, we can interview more teens.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I mean, that was the most incredible process. I think I cried in every interview.
Oh. Well, and this might be a good time. We don't usually do commercial breaks, but I can't help but say that one of my favorite ideas of ways to support, whether it's parents or teens or anyone who needs it, is to buy these books and, you know, I was just saying, one of my favorite things is to put them in the little free libraries, because I feel like that way they're easily accessible to anybody. But I know Jodie tell us where you just recently left one.
Oh, I recently went on a cruise, and I had, they had like a leave a book kind of library there, and I just happened to be talking. My nieces were on the cruise, and there was another 19-year-old there with their grandfather, and happened to pick up that they were queer, and it just dawned on me like how many other, teens might be on this cruise at some point, and if they came across that book, it might be the right time or the right, thing they need at that point. So yeah, so I just scribbled a little note and stuck it in the library, and who knows where it is now, but hopefully it's doing some good. I even thought, hey, even if it's, one of the parents or somebody who's
Right.
on a quiet cruise could sneak away and start reading some, teens' words to help, inform themselves.
And Telaina, I would love it if you would put in a word for rural centers and
things are hard everywhere, and I don't mean to imply that they're not hard, but I was so thankful recently. Mango, Brenda, and Kristen, was it? I forget, but they sent, they sent some books to one of the out centers here in Michigan that serves a rural community. Technically, they serve 3 counties. That's what all their literature says, but I think they really serve about 6 by the time people zoom in and do different things and everything, and they go to different communities. Again, just there's less access to some of those resources that there are, and even a little bit bigger town. And I'm not even talking like New York City, but even just we have a lot of towns in Michigan that are like 200,000 people or 150,000 people, and there's just more stuff there, right? And so you're out in the middle of a cornfield or a soybean field in Nebraska, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois. There's Chicago and Illinois, and then there's a lot of fields, right? I love Illinois, but it's like Chicago and then fields, right? So I mean, I just really have a soft spot for our parents who are trying to positively parent our queer children in those areas, and then the queer kids who might be one of 2 people or 3 people in their class of 50 that are different, right? So there's all these heteronormative. I mean, rural America hasn't changed a lot sometimes, and again, I'm saying this from a place of love because I'm from rural America. But I go to the 4-H fair. My great nieces and nephews, that's how old I am. My great nieces and nephews are now showing their cows, their rabbits, their chickens, and all that stuff. And it's really not that much of a different experience than when I showed my sheep and my chickens and my various animals at the 4-H fair. So it is hard. Those traditions of the prom and those traditions of homecoming dances and all those things are extremely heteronormative. So it's very challenging for our queer young people to not have access to those spaces. And I really appreciate Mango's been very supportive of us trying to get them some free resources throughout the years, and really appreciate it because obviously money is always an issue for those out centers and those other places doing that good work in those communities. And again, we need help everywhere, but everyone has to kind of have a soft spot, and that's mine. So, because that's where my sister grew up, and that's where I grew up. And
yeah.
If I could blanket North America with your books, I would.
I feel like it would be really cool to like take our books together and like, here's the family package.
Absolutely. Libraries are a big place for rural and small town and city kids. And right before Heart Wisdom today, one of the fellow Mangos sent a photo of Telaina's book, Unconditional, spotted in a library in Virginia. Virginia can be very rural.
Yes,
and then actually Jodie and her co-author Eric Rosswood are going to American Library Association. Isn't it in 2 days?
Yeah, 2 days. Yeah.
And you're doing a talk. Can you tell a little bit about all the excitement?
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're let me see. I'm actually going to be on a panel on Saturday morning, and it's talking about book banning and the time of LGBTQ books and all of that mess. And then we're also doing a signing later that day. Yeah, just a lot of, talking to librarians. And I mean, that's like one of my favorite things in the world, because it's so, I mean, librarians are superheroes. I mean,
Yeah.
they have the most amazing resources, and just, if I feel like if anyone's ever stuck on like, oh my gosh, how do I help my teen, or what do I do? Like, start with a librarian, like.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So,
there might even be more than 200,000 librarians, like, because so they're pouring in from all over, and I think it's Canada as well. So, like, do you have like stickers and like things that like you can give people in like after you've run out of signed books?
yeah, I have lots of bookmarks. Well, so I've gone overboard a little bit.
No.
So, I mean, we have tons of bookmarks that we love giving out. They look very similar to our cover here. But I've also made a lot of like little worksheets that I've loved giving out at just our little individual events, and then I'll bring there as well, that are like identity worksheets, or vision boards, or just different things that like teens can do to kind of get that self-esteem, and what we were talking about earlier. So yeah, and then I have I'm trying to think of all the little things I've gotten, but yeah, it'll be fun.
Okay, I feel reassured that maybe we will be able to blanket libraries.
Oh
I
yeah,
just like to put in a vote, Brenda, for a unconditional and queer cheer bundle from somewhere, maybe on the website.
I like it.
They get a little discount if they buy both or something like that. So
right.
Just put that in the back of your head there somewhere.
You got it. And Krishna is our sales guy, and he's here listening. So yeah.
I know. I was going to say hi to Krishna, by the way. Thanks. He was just saying how much he's loving this conversation.
Yeah, and I know there's other folks too listening. So comments, bring them on.
Yeah. Brenda, did you have any topics or questions you wanted to bring in?
Well, I'm sorry. I am almost sorry to go there, but I think survival tips for teens and tweens during this election year, because like, I'm sorry to go there, but I think that like we have to, because like that was also one of the things that Eric Rosswood and I talked about, like when we were sort of wished queer cheer into being just by a conversation of concern for teens and tweens. Like, they're used as political cudgels, like during the presidential election. So what are some like survival tips, like to just keep calm and carry on and stay positive? And I guess I'd start with you, Jodie, because I feel like you're right there in that territory, actively talking to teens.
I mean, the first thing is really, to honor whatever feelings that you're having about it. Like if you're frustrated, if you're mad, if you want to tear your hair out, those are like very, very valid feelings, especially during such a charged election. Again, remembering, what people are like when things get charged and what people are saying, like, take a second to like breathe and ask yourself, what can you control in this situation? And if there's nothing you can control, like maybe, what is one thing you could do to maybe improve something? And it might not even be something specific with that situation, but maybe there's some small action that you can do for your own health. Maybe there's some self-care you could be doing, or maybe there's someone that you could be talking to, right? So it really kind of depends on starting with that, what are you feeling and what the situation is. If it's something where maybe you can help control the situation by, going out and helping with phone banks, or helping people register to vote, or, things in that way, that doing something, being active is going to make you feel like I'm being part of the solution, or I'm being part of something that's helping, that might make you feel like you have a little bit of control in the situation. And if there isn't something, maybe you live in an area that there isn't as much opportunity for that, although online opportunities, always look for them. But if you can't quite find what's making you feel like there's, something real active, definitely lean on, that self-care, on finding support and making sure that, you maybe even have like a plan written down, like, okay, if this whole election mess gets too much for me, I'm going to listen to my favorite song. I'm going to contact this support group. I'm going to, ask for help. Like, this is a list of things I can do, and just have that somewhere that you can grab if you're feeling really low.
Very good. And don't you guys, you and Eric, have like a double page spread about like how to find social media that is like supportive? It's like page 48 or 9 or something.
You have it memorized. I'd have to go look at page 48 and 9.
I might be wrong.
So page 48 is self-care tips, which is also good. But we do have like like a couple different things that are in that vein, where we have a whole list of the resources in the back, first of all, which are, whatever you need. If you need like legal help, like let's say something is happening and you need to call the National Center for Lesbian Rights, or, the Transgender Law Center. Those are all listed in the back. If you are looking for activism stuff in the activism section, all those things I was talking about, where you can help with like a phone bank. There are some like online suggestions there as well. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, and I'm so you could like share your story online, right, to influence, like, here's my story of how this law affects me, and that's a way to make help people relate. And obviously being very careful about what you share online, and internet safety, but you can write an article, you can actually, I think, work on getting people registered to vote. There's a lot of things that you can do online, and they are listed in our Make a Difference section.
Yay, I love all those resources. Telaina, did you want to hop in?
Yeah, I think that there was a couple things I wanted to add to Jodie's fabulous list, and I think the first couple of things. One thing is, for those of us who are, especially white, straight, heteronormative individuals like myself, I think we need to use our privilege during this time of unrest in our country. I think that this is not the time to sit back and just throw up your hands and say, well, just things are bad. What are you going to do? So how using your privilege looks different to the different circumstances you're in, the different financial circumstances you're in. But I absolutely do not let anyone use language around me. If someone questions something about someone's pronouns, I very much am like, okay, well, how does this, bother you? Whatever. So even, and it is sometimes, again, just like, it's not safe to be confrontational in all circumstances, but in circumstances where you feel safe to be confrontational, I have learned to just say, hey, and I can put a nice smile on my face and say, why are we using that language when, they've asked you not to use that language? And it's entirely different if someone slips. We all slip, and we just have to apologize and move on. A slip is something, I'm not talking about that. It's refusing to be honorable and respectful. So I think using your privilege in the way that you feel comfortable and the way that you can, given the circumstances of your life, is really important. I also want us to take just a second and realize this is traumatic. If you have somebody who you love who is queer, it is traumatic for your queer children. and it is traumatic for you. And I don't mean to overstate that, like, oh, it's traumatic. It is traumatic. It is awful. It is really horrible to think about. And I think all those self-care tips are really important. I think it's really important for adults as well as teens to get off social media sometimes, especially depending on what they're seeing on social media, and to go outside, right? To go outside and pet their dog, to go outside and look at a leaf, to go outside and walk around the block in a completely urban area. Just unplug, get away from the screen, even if it's good social media content. Overall, if they're talking about something upsetting and what you can do constantly, that you can't do everything, right? So I think that just unplugging once in a while, set a timer or set something like, okay, I'm going to be on social media for an hour and a half today, or an hour, whatever your life looks like for you. And I have a timer on my phone so that I'm not a huge social media person, but I can get sucked in. So I have a timer on my phone for Instagram, and after an hour, it's gray. Like I have to go into my settings and then do all this stuff. And I think that's very valuable, especially given everything that is going on. And I would say the same thing about the news, right? Like we have to, I'm prone to anxiety, and I have had to say, I subscribe to several like weekly roundups, and I have a couple of Substacks that I really rely on that come to my email. I want to be informed, but I read them at a time when I'm hydrated, where I'm feeling okay, where I'm usually like after I've taken a walk and petted my dog, and I'm like, okay, I can face this bullshit, pardon my language, and so I a little bit more control rather than having, news notifications like pop up on my phone all the time, right? Because there's some really scary things depending on what news subjects that you follow. And I think we all follow similar ones that come up on your phone. And so all of a sudden you're in this lovely space, you're having a nice text exchange, or you're having a nice dinner with your family, and then some stuff appears on your phone. So that would be the only thing that I would add, is just respect that this truly is traumatic. If you are a true ally and a queer person, these are just very traumatic things that are going on. Take care of yourself, use your privilege. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. And I can't even believe I forgot. I actually just recorded a podcast with my teen. I do a Teens by Teens podcast. And we just did a episode yesterday on social media and taking a break and, everything. And I mean, it's huge. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. Thank you.
It's so easy to get sucked in. And even if it's like someone you really like, who's really positive, but they're telling you these disturbing things, and again, it may or may not be in your control. It's like, you just need a break, like go be with your pet. And like the timer's been a godsend for me on certain apps that you can really get sucked into. And I utilize, and then I forget how I do it once I set them. And so like, I don't know how to even turn off my Instagram timer now at this point. It's stuck on an hour permanently because I think it's under settings. Like I could ask my son or my daughter, but I don't know. I'm like, no, that's good. You've forgotten for a reason.
Don't figure it out. I had mine set for an hour, and then I had to do like a live, and I'm like, oh, I better fix this. And I put it to like 5, and now I'm back to terrible habits. So don't look. Don't
figure it out, right? Okay.
No.
I know we want to talk about joy too, and so I was thinking that about the very titles and the spirit of both your books are based on joy and love. And I was actually very new at Mango, and Telaina's book had been acquired by a different editor, not me, but like I asked to participate in the titling discussion. And I feel like Jodie nailed it with Queer Cheer, but like I feel like we nailed it for Telaina's book, that like if your children are questioning queer, non-binary, whatever, like just unconditional love is the response. And you can see like in the beautiful cover that Jodie designed for Queer Cheer that book is just bursting with joy and love and encouragement. And so I was just sitting here having my little rainbow reverie and thinking about how much love is embodied in both your books and how important that is, and how that that is just pure joy to me. And I feel like anyone that like, gets to read your books, like they're being uplifted, encouraged, and affirmed.
Oh, thank you, Brenda, for bringing us back to that joy part of our conversation. And yeah, just to end with, again, these are amazing books filled with love and loving wisdom. They're on both of them on Amazon or at the Mango site and bookstores all over the place. Buy one, put in a little for your library, send it to a center, give it away to anybody. But I think that that's such a joyful act. Anything?
And if I could put in a plug for Jodie and Eric did like great outreach to all the queer bookstores in North America. And so many of them are carrying that book and like that. And then we also pitch them like, Telaina's book and other Mango LGBTQ plus books. So support the queer spaces, support the queer places, support the queer, put your money where your love is.
Oh, Brenda! I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful reminder, Brenda. Telaina or Jodie, was there anything before we have to close out? Any last words?
I did want to add in the commercial portion that Unconditional is available as an audiobook as well, which I know a lot of people enjoy listening on their way to work and stuff like that. So that is available. And also I just wanted to add, well, first of all, Sherry, thanks again for your wonderful hosting. You're always such a great host. And I also did want to add, Brenda was saying that, she felt good that I was one of the first LGBTQ books. I just want to say how much I get off of my website and how much I get on Instagram. I have a private Instagram, but people contact me, people reach out. People are reading these books, right? And Mango has a great Pride collection. And I firmly believe in it. All the Pride books that I've read at Mango, I haven't read them all yet, but they're all wonderful. And it's a great collection, and they are making a difference, right? It's not like some always like, oh, boom, but those small things really do add up in someone's lives. And it's like, oh, I got some support from this book, right? And that I'm holding that close to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the one by one by one,
Yes. Yep.
I'm just blown away. I mean, last weekend I had 2 Barnes & Noble signings, and I was a little nervous, to be honest, because it was in a rather conservative county. And I literally cried. I'm going to cry at everything. But I cried at these, first of all, these teens that were coming up and just so like excited about the book. And like, literally going like, oh my God, we love you. This is so cute. This is amazing. And I'm just like, oh yes, like so happy. And then parents that are like, thank you for putting this out there. And like people need these books. We need more of these books for people that they want it, they need it. It's so incredible, like just so heartwarming.
Oh, good. And please send us photos and Instagrams and all that of like you and Eric Rosswood and 200,000 librarians.
Will do. I can't wait.
I just thank you, and I'm speaking to all 3 of you for everything you're doing. It just all of the effort and the love that you're putting out there, and the wisdom and the support. And thank you for being here today. This was so great, so helpful. We did get to the joy part, which I'm so happy about too. So thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you, Sherry.
Bye.
Yeah, bye everyone.
Bye.